an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 8, Episode 13, The Christmas Special, 2014, Last Christmas. I'm gonna have that fucking song in my head all day now. God damn it. In this episode, Santa is here to help with the inceptioning caused by facehuggers. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Jaime.
Alright, guys, so right off the top, here's what we're going to do. We're quitting Doctor Who. I think you all probably saw that coming. I was entertaining the possibility that maybe we would do multiple episodes at once. I just don't really think it's worth it. And we have decided not to replace the show with anything until after my wedding. Because, frankly, I am overwhelmed lately. It has been really hard. I think you all probably have noticed that every week or every other week, things are going to have to go up late. Things are, it's just I have not been on top of things. And I think it's just, there's been a lot going on personally. Jaime and I were talking about some of that beforehand. And I just feel I need a break. So, for the time being, we will be leaving that open space. And then we will revisit covering The Expanse, the book series, it turns out. I'm not promising anything, but we'll revisit it. There might be something else that came out in the meantime that Jamie's like, okay, I know we said that, but what about this?
Well, in the meantime, I'm going to finish reading the book series.
Right, so. There you go. Yeah, because I don't want to make that mistake again. We did that with Doctor Who, sort of unknowingly, me. And that's what happened with fucking Dark Tower. Miles hadn't finished it, and it turns out it sucks. The ending is very bad. The last 2-3 books are almost unreadable. And he didn't know. So he got invested in this whole thing, and he read ahead while we were covering it, and then began to realize that maybe we had made a terrible mistake. So, I'm not doing that again.
I'm pretty confident that is not the case with this series, just based on people I trust that have read all of the ones that are out so far. There is one coming out later this year. So by the time we get past your wedding, that book will have been out. I will have read it. That's the last book.
Okay.
So, yeah, by the time we would get to this, it'll be complete, and it's probably better to start once it's complete. But everyone I know whose opinions have never steered me wrong when it comes to this stuff have not had anything bad to say about any of the books.
Well,
not even like, oh, this one's a weak one. You can, it's a slog to get through. Like, everyone's like, oh, which one are you on? Oh my God, wait till you get to the next one. Like, it's that kind of series where it holds up and it's just well done all the way through.
Well, I think that you all know I don't really trust anybody ever again anymore for the foreseeable future. So that's fine and good for you, but also I don't believe you or
fair.
Any of them.
That's not entirely fair. You haven't, the Doctor Who thing, yeah. I was hoping that you would find things to love about it. I didn't think that you would hate it, but I didn't think that you would become like a full-fledged Whovian or anything. I thought that it would be just silly enough that you would like it, and that would sustain it. I wasn't expecting, in analyzing it this way, for my opinion to change as much as it has. And it's a tricky show because it is just so... It's so... It's not deep. It's not deep.
So, we were talking before we started about somebody had gotten in touch, and forgive me for not replying to your email, but like I said, guys, overwhelmed lately. So very. About turning One Piece into a regular show. One Piece is something that I've been commissioned on. That's not happening, just FYI. One Piece I am commissioned to cover like into July at this point, and it's just too awkward to try and convert that to a regular show, and that's just not an option for me. However, I know that a lot of people were thinking I might hate One Piece because it is so over the top and bonkers. And those of you who don't know what it is, it's an anime that apparently has been running for like close to 20 years. And so there's a lot of it. I'm covering it 2 episodes at a time right now. And the difference between something absurd like One Piece and Doctor Who is that Doctor Who is simultaneously campy and silly and takes itself seriously. And that's what does not work for me. It wants to have it both ways. Mm-hmm. And I can't do that. One Piece is just absurd. And it's telling a story that remains consistently absurd. So far, obviously, lots can change because it's such a long show. But it's like it knows very well what it is. And it works within the parameters that are allowed by the silliness that it has established. And so, it's fucking great. It's so stupid. The character designs are out of control. I don't know what these people were smoking. It's like they take Animal Crossing, like, they go into one of those closets and just put on the first thing in every category. Like, shit does not go together. It doesn't even make sense. And they're like, yeah, that's what that character wears. And you're like, why? And everybody just has magic powers that are just, like, absurd. I just have, like, finished the Buggy the Clown bit where he has limbs that disconnect from his body and then fly around, slapping and slicing people up with his swords, with his flying hands. Which is just it's nonsense. It's so good. Everybody should watch One Piece. I'm
going to nope on that.
Oh my God.
Since there's a clown involved.
Yeah, I won't lie. Buggy the Clown is very upsetting. I don't, like, he's meant to be scary and it works very well. But there is a pirate in the very first episode who's very Umbridge-esque, and her pirate ship, the Jolly Roger, has heart eyes. And I don't know why, but that was a moment for me where I was like, on board. Yep, I'm here for this show.
See, I think that a lot of people think that is what Doctor Who is. And I think that I kind of felt like that's mainly what Doctor Who is it's really silly, and it's cotton candy, it's got no calories, and then it would surprise me with some stuff that really hit me in, like, my heart. And then it would go back to being silly, and I just never really took it very seriously.
Okay.
Myself.
Yeah.
And then it started really taking itself more seriously. I feel like if you look at the 2 different phases that we've covered, which is the Russell T Davies phase and the Stephen Moffat phase, I feel like the Stephen Moffat phase is taking itself way more seriously than Davies did. Not that there weren't mounds of problems happening in the Davies run. But I do feel like there were sillier things that were happening more often.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would make sense that is when I really began to start to turn a corner and be like, I don't think so. But that's just, I need things to be aware of what they are. And it's really hard to have, like, an incredibly emotional episode plus Cybermen. It's like, it just doesn't add up. So,
yeah,
that's just, I gave it a good shot. I warned y'all this would happen. I went into this fucking knowing this would happen. I'm going to be honest. And it wasn't even like I went into it like, I am determined to hate this show. It was me going into it like, oh my God, I really hope everybody knows what they're doing, because I've seen like 2 episodes and I remember hating it. But everyone insists that it's going to work out and I'm going to trust them. And it just wound up being precisely what I thought. And I just feel really like... It's not even that I regret covering it, because I'm glad that we gave it a try. Mm-hmm. It's just, you know, when we posted this past episode and asked whether or not we should give it up, we got a lot of feedback from people who were like, oh yeah, I stopped listening a while ago because you guys are no fun anymore because you don't like it. And like, see? I don't want to keep putting the work into this knowing that a bunch of people are just like lost interest because of the exact thing. It's folks are trying to sort of, I think, just be nice by keeping that shit to themselves, which honestly, most of the time I would appreciate. Like, oh, it's not for me. I stopped listening. I'm not going to tell her that. But this was one of those cases where I was like, I wish I knew that a little earlier, because I wasn't getting that. We were still having pretty good engagement when we posted episodes and stuff. So I was under the impression that everybody was still on board and just like all in this collective, it's fine if you hate it. We just want to hear about it. And it turns out no. And I just wish I'd known that, because it would have made it a little easier for me to just be like, you know what? I just don't think this is going to work out. It's not fun for me or you.
I mean, I honestly wish I'd known that too, because there's still a lot of engagement in the Whovian group. And there's even engagement from some of the people that today were like, yeah, I stopped listening a while ago. Mm-hmm. And that was surprising to me because I didn't know. And especially when, you know, we're getting to the end of a season and everybody's like, and I'm honest, like, hey, I'm not sure if we should go on from here. Because I was not a big fan of Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. I wasn't a big fan of the stories that they told. I barely paid attention. I'm not particularly looking forward to revisiting it. And everybody was like giving me all of these reasons why I should and why you should, and convinced me. But some of those people aren't still listening to our show. So I'm like, why then?
Yeah. It's deceitful,
because
guys. You deceived us. Fine. How dare you? How do you sleep at night?
I was fine stopping after Matt Smith left. I felt like his final season was kind of insulting to him, especially the second half of his final season. That's how I felt when I originally watched it too. He was too good to be saddled with what they gave him. But he was also too good to not at least watch him finish. Mm-hmm. So I would have been fine with like, you know, this is a good stopping point, because from here out, even I wasn't invested. I was completely checked out.
Yeah.
But everybody was like, no, no, no. And like, we're getting the same thing right now. There are a number of people that are like, season 9 is one of my favorites. It's up there with this season and this season. Like, I can't do it again. I believed you guys about season 8. I believed that I was going to come around on Capaldi's version of the Doctor. And I'm telling you, and I can say this to Natasha now because we're not doing it anymore, that bullshit he pulls with his sonic screwdriver being his sunglasses and carrying a guitar, I am not here for it. It is stupid. I hated it.
God, what did you just say to me?
Do those words make sense? No. Neither did it in the show.
Jaime, I'm sorry. We're going to have to time out, back up. What did you just say?
Something happens in season 9, I think, or maybe 10, I don't even know, where he turns his Sonic into sunglasses. So they're Sonic sunglasses, and he wears them all the time, and then he's carrying around an electric guitar. I hate it so much.
Why
it makes no sense.
Is he carrying an electric guitar? What does that have to do with the sunglasses?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
And maybe I don't know because I couldn't pay attention when I was watching the episodes. But those things I was like, what the fuck are they even doing anymore? Why is the Doctor acting this way?
I'm very distressed. Wow. Well, that paired with, before recording, Jaime informed me of the fate of one Bill, a companion. I feel like we are really on the right course here.
Yeah.
Because I had a conversation with a friend about Danny's fate, and she brought up some issues that feel like very, it's something that I should have picked up on, but the issue of racism with a character that the doctor keeps being like, oh, I don't believe that he can teach math. I think he must teach PE, gym. And he has PTSD, but I'm not going to take that seriously, and I'm just going to hate him because he's a soldier, and
I'm going to call Mickey the idiot.
Yeah, it just, this show doesn't have the best track record, and I feel like that really, with Martha, all of that would have just sent me right over the edge. Can you tell me this? Tell me this, Jamie. Is Danny really dead?
I think so.
Good God.
I think so, because I don't remember him being in season 9, any of the stuff that I remember watching. I don't remember seeing him again.
Okay. Well, cool.
Right. So, like, that whole thing with their descendant doesn't matter. Doesn't make any sense. We have a right to be upset about this stuff.
I can't believe that that's just something that they just dropped for whatever reason.
I'm going to look up on IMDb because I honestly don't know if Danny comes back. So let me just see.
Okay. But anyway, so guys, the more I've discussed this, the more it just feels like the right call. Like I said, I've just been going through a lot personally, myself and family, and there has just been a real sense of constant scrambling to get everything done. And I think that this break is sorely needed, really. Once I thought of it last night about like just not replacing it with anything until at least after the wedding, I was like overcome with this just wave of such relief. And I was like, yeah, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, like it makes me sad to not have this weekly time talking to you and recording with you. But if I'm being realistic, I've got a lot of shit going on too. Mm-hmm. So I could probably use the time to focus as well.
Yeah, that was something that I thought of. I was like, also Jamie's got shit happening, so.
Yeah. FYI, Last Christmas is Danny's last episode.
Okay, so he really is dead. Mm-hmm. It's a shame that I didn't buy it. It might have been more affecting if I really trusted that was what was actually happening.
Sure, but you were thinking about episode 2 of that season where they met his descendant. And
every other, major love interest doesn't ever die. It will seem like they have, or that something happened, but they'll come back. They'll be okay. They've always come back. So it just, the show has, taught me to not ever really consider someone gone unless they're a red shirt side character.
Yeah.
So, well, there it is.
Well, I'll tell you what, the guy who plays Danny has been working pretty nonstop, so that's good for him.
Good for him. But you had said that people wanted me to watch The Husbands of River Song?
Yes, it's a Christmas episode I'm going to look up right now.
Okay. See. So this is one that we aren't going to have this be the very last Doctor Who episode. That will be the one we end on. Just FYI.
Well, there's an asterisk.
Ooh.
I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to let you know.
Oh, okay. I appreciate you, Jamie,
because
taking a bullet.
While we love River, that doesn't guarantee that it's a good episode. Because I heard the title, Husbands of River Song, and I was like, oh, I've already pretty much checked out, but I'm going to watch this episode, and I don't remember paying that much attention. So maybe I was still checked out.
Right.
Even with my girl River in it. So I will watch it and let you know if it's worth having one more episode.
Because, it has happened that people have been excited for us to get to an episode, and then we get there, and I don't know why they were excited. So, I think that's probably a good call. Because I don't want to end it on, oh, it's the big last one that you all thought I would really like, and then be like, guess what, I didn't. Hi, bye, I'm done.
Yeah. I love River. It would be an extra bonus if it was River and Missy, but I don't think that's what that episode is.
It occurred to me that Missy might have been River a couple times. Did I tell you that? Mm-mm. Yeah, there was like a few moments where I was like, is she fucking River? And then it went out of my head and was so clearly not what was happening, and I just forgot about it. And then I would come back around and be like, wait, but is she? So, yeah.
Missy, I do believe, is in future seasons.
Of course, okay.
So even she didn't, like... That's why when you were like, no, she died, I was like, did she?
Yeah.
It looked a little different. Because I wasn't sure if we were going to keep going, and I wanted to keep that one as like a, you know... I don't know, that didn't look like when she zapped other people. Because I did know she was around again.
Right.
I have a Funko Pop of Missy. She's wonderful. And there is a book called... like the Missy Files or something that I have on my Kindle I haven't read yet. So, if you want more Missy content, at least there's that. Maybe that's good.
I am not committing to anything of that nature ever again. That's that. Okay, so let's talk about this episode.
Okay.
Santa, who is Nick Frost. I really wish that he was around even more because he's very enjoyable.
I love Nick Frost and Simon Pegg so much. I don't know if our listeners know how much I love them, but I really do.
They are real good boys.
Yes.
And I really enjoy that they did some little thing recently. I don't know if it was about COVID or what, but they did like a little skit. And they sort of, like, corrected the fact that they used gay as a joke. Mm. And were like, yes, well, that was something that we have revisited and realized we need to do better, and we're just going to stop doing that. And it was part of the dialogue and done really quickly, but in a, like, comedic delivery. And it was just a really nice way of addressing, yeah, you know, we fuck up sometimes and we're just going to do better. Yeah. And it was not making a big deal out of it. And I really appreciated that because that was something with like Bill and Ted. I wish that they had addressed the fact that like they use fag in their movie a bunch of times in an otherwise very wholesome film. Yeah. And it's just jarring because otherwise it's so like kind and sweet. And then they'll just like use this fucking horrible slur and you're like, what? Where? So yeah, the fact that they like addressed it and said something, it's just, you know, nobody's asking you to be perfect. We're just asking you to address when you aren't perfect and do better. And that's really all we're asking. So this whole cancel culture thing is really your own fault if you decide not to apologize.
I've met both Simon and Nick, and they are both absolutely wonderful people. Like Simon went out of his way to find me after I saw Hot Fuzz because I got to. It's the most Hollywood thing I ever got to do was go to the Hot Fuzz premiere. That was like a private premiere.
Oh, that's so exciting.
And I went up to him beforehand and told him I was a huge fan of Shaun of the Dead and I'm really excited about this movie. And he was like, "Oh, I hope it doesn't disappoint you. I'm not sure. I don't know if it lives up to Shaun of the Dead. I'm really nervous." And afterwards, at this like after party where I didn't know anybody, I was by myself, he found me and was like, "Okay, what did you think?" And I got to tell him what I thought of the movie, and he was just so generous with his time. We like talked about like living in LA and how that's so different from anywhere else in the world and how weird it can be. And then we were interrupted by Timothy Dalton, who's a prick.
Oh my God. I just will never be sad about that. What a drag.
Ugh, he's treated me like I was a peasant. But then I went and found Nick and was super excited to talk to him. And he was just so exactly what you think. Like, they are exactly what you think. So every time I see them in anything, I'm always going to support them because they are incredibly nice, kind, generous people. And they care. So this skit you're talking about, that sounds like them.
Yeah. That's good. What did you tell him about how you felt about Hot Fuzz? Because I know that you fucking love that movie.
Basically, I'm sure that those were my exact words, was I fucking loved it. I was like, it was so funny. Like, so funny. And I'm sure at the time I told him all the, like, things that that really got me. The goose. I mean, so much. Like,
The
That
swan.
movie is
The swan.
Swan.
Jamie.
It's a
God,
swan.
have some
I'm
respect.
so sorry. Excuse me. But yeah, like Hot Fuzz is fantastic, and it's not like Shaun of the Dead, and that's part of what makes it so great. Is you guys you did a spin on another genre, and it's just as funny.
Oh, God.
I loved it, and I loved being able to tell him that because he really did seem like so scared that people were gonna hold it up against Shaun of the Dead and be like, "Well, it's not as good."
Yeah, when something's like, you know, a benchmark for your career, I can't imagine the pressure that puts on things, you know? God.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten to meet Edgar, because Edgar was there too. And I feel like he's the third part of their whole thing.
Yeah.
But every time I, like, inched closer to him, he was talking. I'm just not the type of person that's going to interrupt people.
Yeah.
So I just never got an opportunity. But I remember thinking, he's pretty handsome in person.
I've thought that. He's very small.
Yeah. He is very small.
But yeah, I've always thought, like, oh, he's got a pretty good face, actually.
Yeah, he's very handsome in person. That's the night that I saw Rosario Dawson and was like, holy shit. She's so much prettier in person.
Huh. I never really, like, because she's just somebody who has such a high impact, beautiful face on screen that the idea of her being even more beautiful in person, I'm just like, why would I even want to think about that?
It was the kind of beautiful where I was like, I don't know if I can look at her. It really floored me. So I didn't go and say anything to her. It's above my pay grade talking to girls like that.
Right.
Like, yeah, that was a fun night. But I mean, I was already a fan of these guys, obviously, but getting a really great experience with them. When I heard, because, you know, I was checked out of this season. When I heard that Nick Frost was playing Santa Claus, I was like, I'm fucking in. Absolutely.
Yeah, he is very fun.
He's great.
I wish that this episode had been mostly Santa.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what happens every Christmas episode, is that I get very excited about, like, the setup. And then we go into more sci-fi stuff again. And I'm like, no, go back to Christmas. So
what
it's not their fault.
Did you recognize the girl who plays Shauna?
No.
It's the waif.
Waif. Oh, from Game of Thrones? Oh.
Yeah.
I don't remember, like, anything about the waif, so that doesn't matter to me, to be honest.
I remember lots about the waif because I hated her in the show. Wanted her to die.
That's fair.
But as soon as she popped up in this, I was like, oh my god, it's a fucking waif. But then she's so good in this. I was like, oh, I'm so glad that she's a good enough actress that she changed my mind. Because seeing her, I was like, ugh, hate you.
Oh, that's so funny, though. I love when, like, somebody has just embedded themselves in your mind as a bad person because they were too good in this one role. I feel like... Yeah. I wonder how actors feel about that. Like, do they feel like, oh, thank you. Wow, I really accomplished something there. Or are they like, but give me a chance, man. I'm doing a different thing here. Like, do they get annoyed?
Well, I guess we could maybe someday find a way to ask Lena Headey, because apparently people won't come up and talk to her because they can't separate her from Cersei.
That's so funny. I mean, I can understand it. Don't get me wrong.
She's like the complete opposite personality from Cersei, which is what's so funny about it, because she's such a goofy person that it's hilarious that people are scared of her. Or I guess we could ask Wyatt Russell, who's currently getting death threats for playing somebody who has the nerve to pretend to be Captain America.
Oh my god, yeah. I guess we should talk about the episode, shall we?
Sure.
So, we start off with the discovery of Santa on the roof by Clara. And I have to say, there's a moment where his friendly elf...
His elves?
What's that?
There's two of them.
Yeah, his friendly elf helpers, they are like, oh, what, did you think your parents bought you presents? Because they love you so much. And I was like, wow, that's a fucked up message, actually. Y'all are just like, you really thought your parents would just buy you something for no reason because they like you? Fat fucking chance, you idiot.
One of the elves is played by the guy who plays Strax.
Strax.
The potato. The Sontaran.
Oh. Okay. Is it... Because one of the other guys I did recognize.
Well, the one who plays Strax, the elf he plays is named Ian, but I don't know what the other one's... Oh, the other one's name is Wolf. The other one has, like, a more traditional, like, it's cute kind of face. Mm-hmm. Strax/Ian has a gap in his teeth. And when I saw the gap in his teeth, I was like, why do I know this person? And I looked him up. I was like, oh, it's Strax.
I'm looking... Strax actor, Doctor Who. Let's see his face. Okay.
And he was the one with, like, the shorter, like, not as dark hair.
Dan Starkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his face is looking familiar for other things, too. I feel like I know him from something else without being a Sontaran. I'm looking at all these episodes. Strax Saves the Day, 2020 episode. Alex the Vampire. What? That's the name of the show, I guess. Or maybe a movie?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a ton of Doctor Who stuff and, like, almost nothing else. Almost. Yeah, I don't know him from anything else. Not that I see. Sherlock Gnomes. Oh my god, I forgot that was a thing. He was in Good Omens as a passerby. So.
I've only watched the first episode of Good Omens. I need to finish it.
Yeah.
I meant to do that during quarantine, and then I watched other things instead.
Maybe he's just ringing a bell because he does look like Strax a teeny tiny bit, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
So, as they, like, the transition from I'm on the roof with Santa, and Santa's going to pretend at first that he doesn't, that he's not real, that he's... Is it Christmas even? I don't even go for Christmas or that sort of thing, so whatever. The doctor, like, lands in the midst of this conversation and comes out and grabs Clara, and I had forgotten that they basically had ended the last episode on, like, we're going to lie to each other in such a way as to make it that we don't see each other again. Yeah. So when she's like, I never thought I'd see you again, I was like, why not? And then I remembered because I texted you... Because it's just such, like, I take it so for granted. Of course, that's not how it's going to end. And so, again, this moment just gets undermined for me.
Just a quick piece of trivia is that Stephen Moffat, Jenna Coleman, and Peter Capaldi later confirmed that Coleman was initially going to leave the series with this episode, but last-minute lobbying by Capaldi and Moffat convinced her to stay on for one more series. According to Moffat, the decision was made rather late in the process, perhaps as late as the read-through, resulting in an 11th-hour revision to the ending. Shauna was originally intended to be the next companion.
Oh. Did Shauna get, like, jilted? Like the actress?
I guess they told her... I mean, I would assume there weren't contracts signed if they were able to make this change.
Yeah, I mean...
But I think they've kind of done this before. Like, we met Donna in a Christmas episode, and then they brought her back later, not the very next season. But I'm guessing that contracts must be done between seasons. If they were able to convince Jenna to stay for one more year. So,
that's just like, I don't know. I would just be so bummed by that, you know?
However, I think that... that actress was already... I need to look up the dates, but apparently on her list at the end, where you see her, like, Christmas list, it's got, like, movies listed on it. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's listed on there is Thrones, which refers to Game of Thrones.
She was already on there?
I'm wondering if she was already playing the wave.
Huh, maybe.
Let's see. This episode was December 2014. Let's see when she showed up on Game of Thrones. We can keep talking while I look this up.
All right. So, the doctor comes and scoops her up, and they go to this like, what it seems like is a station on the South Pole? North Pole? South Pole?
North Pole.
North Pole. Now, what we wind up finding out later is that this station isn't real.
Yeah.
I will admit, I got lost about 3/4 of the way in terms of understanding where it all started and how they began having this dream.
Yeah, I honestly hadn't really put that much thought into what was the first of the dreams and how they all ended up together.
Yeah, it sort of feels like what they're insinuating is just everybody got attacked totally separately, but the, like, psychic bond between these creatures puts them mentally all in the same place.
Yeah.
It's very tentative for me.
It really could be that, you know how time in dreams is weird. So, for the individuals, this has been going on for a long time, but it's just like the doctor says to Clara that you think it's been all day and it's only been 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, it could have felt like, this happened last week, but it just happened right before they walked in the door.
Right.
And her first episode of Game of Thrones was April of 2015, so she easily could have already filmed her first season.
Mm-hmm.
I think season 5 was her first season, which might be why you forget about her. She could have already filmed that before they filmed this.
Yeah, okay. So this basically this is always hard for me because once I find out that something isn't real, it's hard for me to want to spend time talking about it because it's not, it doesn't matter, it turns out. But what this starts off with is this girl who's going into a infirmary, and she's like being watched by her colleagues on a closed circuit camera, and they are advising her as she enters and then begins to listen to a song that they're piping into her headphones, and closes her eyes and begins to dance pretty wildly. And it's a Christmas song. I'm not familiar with this Christmas song. Have you heard this one before?
No, but it's a group called Slade. So I wonder if they're just really popular in the UK. I often wonder about Christmas in the UK because I learned stuff from movies and television, and I've watched Love Actually 100 times. There's a whole thing with Bill Nighy's character having like a big Christmas song and being on a bunch of talk shows about it and like being in competition with this other group that has a big Christmas song or whatever. Like, is that a thing? Or is that a thing that was just for the movie?
I'm guessing it was for the movie. That's my assertion that I'm going to make with no evidence at all. And I'm interested to hear if anybody has supporting, or not even supporting, if y'all have information otherwise that you can share with us.
Follow-up question would be, is it common for groups that are really popular in the UK? Because, there's lots of groups that are popular in the UK that we never even hear about over here. Is it a common thing for them to do Christmas songs? Because I need to move to the UK. I love Christmas songs.
I mean...
So I would love that.
I like Christmas music, but I don't like modern Christmas songs almost ever. So...
I do.
What's that?
I do.
Yeah,
I like all Christmas songs. It's a big problem.
I mean...
I really love them.
You guys know... Well, I said at the beginning of this episode, it's called Last Christmas, and now... Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the
I love that
very
song.
next day, you gave it away. Worst. I
love it! And I love Jimmy Eat World's version, and I love Taylor Swift's version.
The only song worse than that for Christmas is... Hey Santa, Santa. Shut up. Both of you go to hell.
Isn't that like... Who is that? Is that Wilson Phillips?
Who even cares? I hope they drop
I
dead.
do. I love it. There's the only Christmas song I don't like is Paul McCartney's Christmas song. It's the worst song ever written.
Which one's that?
Wonderful Christmas Time. Worst song ever written.
Is that Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time? Now, why is that worse than the other ones?
I don't know.
What kind
I fucking hate it.
Bullshit rationalization have you come up with, Jaime, to explain why that song, which is, yes, indeed, also awful, is worse than the others, which are also awful?
Because the other ones are really fun. I don't know. Maybe it's just that Paul McCartney is so much better than that song. It's insulting.
I see what you mean. Well, okay, back to this whole thing. I'm just not going to, what am I even talking about? You know what the other Christmas song is that's really, what's that one that's like, it's just such a nihilistic Christmas song. Oh, I can't remember how it goes, but it's basically like, oh yeah, this Christmas sucks, and every Christmas mostly sucks, and just get ready because all Christmases are bad. And that's like, and it's weirdly popular, despite being a really like sad, depressing song.
Is it upbeat in tempo, or is it slow?
I'm trying to, so let's see, I'm going to just type in depressing Christmas song and see what Google has to go for here. It's So This Is Christmas, and what have you done?
That's John Lennon.
Another year over. And it's just like, wow, really wasted another fucking year of your life, and it's Christmas already. Good luck. 5 days left to do jack shit, as usual. It's just such a bummer. Way to completely fail yourself and everyone around you. What's that?
You like, what's that depressing Christmas song? Oh, it's John Lennon.
What? John Lennon's a depressing dude. Like,
that's true.
You know, it tracks, in my opinion. Anyway, okay. So, I'm sorry, everybody. Forgive me. Okay. This scene it's so weird because she's dancing to this music in a way that's like just so over the top for what she's actually listening to.
I thought it was really funny.
It was funny. It was just sort of like, I wish that they had chosen a song that I could understand having this reaction to, but nevertheless.
Yeah.
She's in the middle of this and they're talking about how, oh, it's working. Do you see this? It's working. And nothing's happening, which is apparently the goal. And this is when the doctor and Clara interrupt. And this woman is like, there's a skeleton man? Is what she calls him? Mm-hmm. I forget what she says about Clara. I don't even remember, but that
song's been around since 1973.
The song that she was dancing to?
Yeah.
Huh. Never heard it in my life.
Me neither. It's glam rock.
Is it?
That's what it says on here. Genre: Christmas glam rock.
I'm realizing the older I get, how completely ignorant about music as a whole I am. You know, like, I don't know jack about music, as it turns out. And every time somebody will tell me what genre something is, I'm like, oh, I just don't know anything. I really don't. So they interrupt, and because of the fact that they are here, like, interfering with her concentration, and also they are bringing their own consciousness into the whole mix, they all wind up being suddenly threatened by these creatures who are
dream crabs.
That makes it sound like some weird STD. But sure, why not? Yes.
Those crabs were such a dream.
And they begin to, these like figures wake up, and we go for most of the episode thinking that these are their co-workers who are already infected, that they put in the infirmary until they can figure out how to save them. And eventually, as things begin to get figured out, it becomes clear that that's them in the infirmary. Only it's not really, because that is also a dream. Mm-hmm. Here's where it begins to fall apart for me, is when everything becomes a dream. I really like the idea of it, but it's not as interesting to watch as I wanted it to be. And when they start to get attacked later, and we've learned that the dream is a dream, and the doctors like put the idea of that out there, but people aren't really catching on to it, and they start to get threatened by more of these things, and everybody's like, how can this be happening? And he says something about like nightmare logic. That was when I started to be like, all right, I'm realizing that my eyes are glazing over. It was just so weird because it felt like all the elements were there, but I just wasn't really engaged by it. And thus, as every reveal continues to like point to, oh, that was a dream too, I just grew more and more confused because apparently I wasn't paying close enough attention to completely follow it all. So by the end, I was genuinely like, all right, what? And that's sort of where it ended for me, was me feeling just like, oh, okay, what? And that's like my takeaway for most of the episode, is there were some interesting moments, but for the most part, it didn't make an impression on me because I couldn't follow it all.
I don't disagree. I thought there were some really interesting ideas and really fun moments in it. And I did like when you realize it's a dream, like where Shauna's like, oh, it's like the ice cream pane on the side of your head. And then he's like, oh, wait. So we're all in this dream. Mm-hmm. And then when it turns into the nightmare logic where it's scary, you're being chased and things move faster or you move slower, whatever. Like, that's good. Like, they deployed really good ideas. Mm-hmm. But I found myself being a little disappointed because I loved the idea of Santa being real.
Yeah.
And then he's not, or is he? Because we see there's a tangerine on the windowsill. But he's not. And I felt like that was who dreamed him? Who dreamed Santa? And who decided to dream Santa as this, like, funny, sardonic kind of Santa? I appreciate it. But I agree. I wish there had been more Santa. Every time he disappeared, I was like, why?
Yeah.
And I liked all of the other characters. I liked Shauna. I liked the other two women. The guy, not so much, whatever.
Yeah. We're going to have him be a creep right out of the gate. But we want you to care about him. Good luck.
Yeah. Like, I cared about the ladies. And I'm glad that they didn't die from the face huggers later. I guess the guy did. Don't know.
Wow.
But, I don't know. Like, maybe it was just that there were too many dreams within dreams. Because when the one where the doctor then goes and sees Clara and she's old. Mm-hmm. Horrible old age makeup, by the way.
Yeah, her mouth looked super weird.
Some of the worst old age makeup I've ever seen. Like, can you imagine if Chris Evans had looked like that at the end of Endgame? Spoilers. Because his old age makeup was some of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was very convincing. I feel like I read about how they accomplished that and it was interesting, but I can't recall anything now.
It was really good. And, I mean, even like how he made his voice sound old and everything. It was, like, this was awful. I couldn't look at her. I was like, it's distracting how bad this looks. But if it had been that the doctor shows up and, oh my God, it's been however 62 years or whatever, that's interesting. Oh, but this is a dream too. So it's like, well, when do they end?
That's like when Santa shows up again and is like, you wish you could have saved her? How much do you wish it? I was like, wait, what does that question mean? Because it almost is presented like, well, I was just going to let her be old and die. But maybe I'll help you out after all, is the sort of, instead of it being like, oh no, I'm saving you again, even though before I wasn't really saving you, but whatever. I don't understand how Santa saved them the first time, if it was meant to be that he wasn't real. It's just the idea of Santa that saved them?
I don't know. Why was he on Clara's roof? So I guess Clara dreamed, or did the Doctor dream him? Because he shows up in the one and only mid-credit sequence that happened in the last episode. On the TARDIS.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So was the Doctor already infected by the face hugger?
I mean, this is what I mean, is that I feel like every time that I sort of try to figure out what was actually going on there, I can't piece it together.
So basically what you're saying is trying to make logic out of Doctor Who is like trying to use the logic of a nightmare.
I mean, you said it, not me. I will say, when he says the logic of a nightmare, I was like, that is a really good novel title. Mm-hmm. Like, I would stop and pick that book up and be like, oh, word? What is that? What is Logic of a Nightmare? Shit, that sounds scary. But yeah, in the actual, moment here, I was just kind of like, my problem often with the way this show works is the fact that they want to play really fast and loose with letting anything be possible, which means that there are no stakes. And so when he said the logic of a nightmare, my reaction was immediately like, oh, good, so we can just fucking have anything, and then he'll just say that again. Good, great. Which, low-key, is sort of what happened, because of the whole, like, who knows what's really going on with Santa thing.
This was written by Stephen Moffat, FYI.
Sure. That makes sense. He loves his dream shit.
Does he?
I mean, I told you about how that's where Sherlock winds up sort of going. Is very mental, psychedelic sort of places. And when I say psychedelic, I don't mean like dripping cartoon, like swirly rainbows. I mean like you're inside somebody's mind and experiencing like weird fake outs and confusion that they're having due to a mental breakdown or addiction or something like that.
I think that Stephen Moffat should probably refrain from trying to do stuff like that. Because I don't think he has the emotional intelligence to give those kinds of things the weight they deserve.
I can understand that, and I know, like, for season 3 of Sherlock, a lot of people felt that. And like I said, I hated the third season the first time I watched it. I really came around on it. But also,
I thought
was
it was the fourth season you didn't like.
Maybe it's that one. The last season. Whatever the last season was. But,
fourth one.
I did really like talking about it with Rashawn, and I don't know if that's what sort of saved it for me. It was just the fact that I was discussing it with her, and so that made it work. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I changed my mind. So, like, I don't know what else to say. Because so little of this really stuck with me because it just didn't feel like it mattered very much. And knowing that this isn't going to be the last he sees of Clara, that didn't really concern me. Her being old didn't concern me. And the fact that, like, we're not sure whether Santa actually is real. But he is, though. It's an odd take for the show because they have, like, done plenty of stuff that they'll take a stand and be like, yeah, that was real. That happened. There's aliens, there's mythological creatures, whatever. And it was weird for them to suddenly be, like, coy about whether Santa was really a thing, you know?
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, why didn't we just do that? And I'm sure that I missed things because, like I said, it wasn't even like I was, like, doing anything else and distracted. I just found myself sort of glazing over and spacing out and coming back and being like, oh, they woke up, but they didn't really. And that being what kept bringing me back into the scene was like, that was also a dream. And I pretty soon, I had lost track entirely of how many times it had happened.
Like 4 times, I think. What did you think of Clara's dream of Christmas with Danny?
That was really sad. And it was the kind of thing that I was like, low-key, just let yourself stay in this state then. But, you know, that's not what we're supposed to take away from this, of course. But there is a part of me that was like, I think I would have a hard time coming out of this. I wouldn't be totally confident that I was making the right decision when I decided to come out of it. But it was really like I liked being able to find out firsthand exactly what it was like for them. And it was sort of weird that doesn't wind up being the place that they all wind up in, is like a really good memory. Mm-hmm. Because that feels like a very effective way for these facehuggers to operate, is like, that's something that, well, slight spoilers for Bly Manor, but Haunting of Bly Manor I covered for Spoil Me, and there's a whole thing where people are being tucked away in some of their favorite memories. And their body is undergoing a whole other thing, but their conscious mind is reliving a moment of happiness repeatedly. And they're kind of aware that it's like not right, but it often has to do with somebody who's dead. So it's a person that they miss so much that even though they know it's not right, they're like, yeah, it's fine though. And it seems like very, I'm sure that the premise is that these alien creatures can't control what it is that you're seeing. It's sort of your own manifestation. But if they could, putting everyone in that state would be much better for them than everybody thinks that they're in a secluded polar ice cap, like, research lab with strangers. Because that's certainly something that everybody's going to be trying to fight to get out of. You know?
Yeah.
And also, I had a hard time with it because I was still certain Danny was going to come back anyway.
Okay.
So it was also like, oh, here we go. The first time we get to see Danny again and pretend this is a big deal, even though we're definitely going to see him a bunch more times. Well, it turns out that's not true. But I was like super confident of it. That's the one thing I regret a little bit about, like, if we, you know, had gone on and eventually I began to realize, oh shit, he's really dead. Maybe that would have, like, done something. But also the fact that it flies in the face of what they told us about their future relationship would be so frustrating. So I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't. So what's your feeling on this episode?
What?
What is your feeling on this episode?
I thought it was enjoyable. I didn't really think about it too hard, because when I started trying to, like, figure out, like, whose dream is what? Are we in different people's dreams, or is it just everything is overlapping? Everybody's sort of psychically linked into the same place or something. Like, when I started thinking about it too hard, I wasn't enjoying it anymore.
Fair.
And I think that's a good rule of thumb for this show as a whole. When you start thinking about it too hard, it's not as enjoyable.
If you start thinking about it, that's it.
But on this, you know, overall, like, it was enjoyable. I liked the characters enough. I think the actors were great. I love Nick Frost. You know, other than Clara's terrible old age makeup, I like the idea of the doctor showing up when she's really old and she's gone on and lived a life, even though she didn't, like, I don't know if she was happy. Yeah. It's hard to tell. I knew she was coming back. I really liked the line where she says, plenty of proposals, and he says, oh, they turned you down. That actually cracked me up. It was very unexpected. I found like that was just like, why are you negging her? You've been gone for 62 years. That's fair. Yeah, I think it was just like how unexpected it was that caught me off guard, and so I found it funny. But I definitely understand what you mean, too. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was cute. I would like more of Nick Frost. Let's get some Missy and Nick Frost hanging out.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
Missy with everyone. No more Doctor, just the Missy show.
The thing is, like, based on what you told me with John Barrowman and I don't know, did we talk about that on the show, or did we talk about that?
No, we talked about that
and that's
offline.
Torchwood?
Yeah.
Jaime informed me that Jack Sparrow's,
This is not Jack Sparrow.
you know,
It's Jack Harkness.
Captain Jack, he is kind of a dick in Torchwood.
I thought so.
I found
it
confident that if we
watching.
had more Santa and Nick Frost, he would wind up also being a dick, because that's apparently what these writers know how to write.
I guess so. It's probably true. I mean, everybody was really clamoring for us to cover Torchwood at one point, and I was like, guys, I never even finished Torchwood. I quit it. And part of the reason I quit it was because Jack is such a joyful character, and he wasn't really on that show.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like the changes that they made in him. I liked other aspects of the show, but not enough to keep watching it. And it's not like it had a lot of seasons. But I quit after, I think, middle of the second season.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we didn't, like, commit to that or do anything there. That works out.
I wouldn't have, because I knew I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really have that much else to say about this episode, to be honest.
Same.
As far as trivia goes, this is the second time the Doctor has an adventure, which is almost entirely a dream. The other one was Amy's Choice. The one where Amy's, like, pregnant.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Rory has a terrible ponytail.
That was so bad. But I loved their cottage, though, so much.
Yes. During the dream, the Doctor helps an elderly Clara pull a cracker. Clara had very similarly done the same for the elderly 11th Doctor in the Time of the Doctor, so that's a nice little callback. And this is the third consecutive Christmas special to feature Jenna Coleman. She previously appeared as a version of Clara Oswald in The Snowmen, then as the original Clara in The Time of the Doctor and Last Christmas. Clara is the first companion to appear in 3 consecutive Christmas specials, but I would say that the original Clara is a question mark. Because the original Clara was Oswin.
Yeah, that's true. Well, take it up with them.
Nah, I don't care.
Can I ask you, she says a few times, every Christmas is the last Christmas. I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. It's something that Danny said to her in her dream.
Why?
Every
what
Christmas
does he
is
mean
last
by
Christmas. I guess it means that, like, you just don't know what's going to happen in the future, so you treat every Christmas like it's the only one, the last one. Or maybe Stephen Moffat just really wanted to get the words "Last Christmas" in the episode.
Why?
Why does he do a lot of things?
I had this episode on with Owen in the room, and when she says it the second time, he just, like, smacked his hand on the couch and said, "What does that mean?" He got real irritated by it, and I was like, honestly, I really don't have an answer for you either. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't really have an answer. I can only make up an answer.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it tells us.
It just, I feel like the fact that the episode is named that, I feel like I'm supposed to get it.
Well, maybe when the episode was named that, it was because this was supposed to be Clara's last episode.
Oh.
Last Christmas. It's like
Maybe.
a little see, but then they convinced her to stay on.
Oh. Well, maybe that is it. Well.
And it's a Christmas song.
It's just, like, the line itself, though, within the context, even outside of that, doesn't, like, make sense to me. It's one thing if you say, treat every Christmas like it might be your last, but, you know, the weight that she gives it when she says it, and there's, like, this knowing old lady expression, I thought I was missing. Okay, you know what? I gotta just learn What am I going to fucking just learn? That's not how it goes. Okay.
That's not how this show goes.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap? Mm-mm. Oh, God. That was just so revealing. All right. Well, guys, I'm sorry that it had to end this way, but also I told you so. So I get to be smug forever and hold it over your head until the end of time. And that's priceless.
Love to do that. Yeah. It's one of your favorite things.
It really is like part of what I live for. So it's fine. And we may see you next week. We may not. So stay on the edge of your seat. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.